BreakingBreaking.com. Lesson 6. Dining out. Past tense. Questions and answers. Brian was speaking with Mary. Who was Brian speaking with?
Mary. Brian was speaking with Mary.
Mary. Brian was speaking with Mary. Brian was talking to Mary. Was Brian dining out with Mary?
No, Brian wasn't dining out with Mary.
No, Brian wasn't dining out with Mary. He was speaking with Mary. Brian told Mary he was thinking about going out to grab a bite. What did Brian tell Mary?
Brian told Mary he was thinking about going out.
Brian told Mary he was thinking about going out to grab a bite. Brian told Mary he was thinking about going out to get something to eat. What was Brian thinking about?
Brian was thinking about going out to grab a bite.
He was thinking about going out to grab a bite. Brian told Mary he was thinking about going out to grab a bite. He told Mary he was thinking about going out to get something to eat. Where did Brian tell Mary he wanted to go?
Brian told Mary he wanted to go out.
Brian told Mary he wanted to go out to grab a bite. He told Mary he wanted to go out to grab a bite. Brian wanted to know if Mary was hungry and wanted to join him to eat. Did Brian want to know if Mary was going to the movies?
No, he didn't. Wanted to know if Mary was going.
No, he didn't want to know if Mary was going to the movies. Brian wanted to know if Mary was hungry and wanted to join him to eat. What did Brian ask Mary?
Brian asked if Mary was hungry.
Brian asked if Mary was hungry and wanted to join him to eat. He asked if Mary was hungry and wanted to join him to eat. Who wanted to know if Mary was hungry?
Brian wanted to know if Mary
Brian.
was
Brian
hungry.
wanted to know if Mary was hungry. Brian wanted to know if she was hungry. Who did Brian ask to join him to eat?
Mary. Brian asked Mary to join him to eat.
Mary. Brian asked Mary to join him to eat. He asked Mary to join him to eat. Mary said she was starving, but she couldn't go because she was busted. Who said she was starving?
Mary said he was starving.
Mary said she was starving. Mary said she was starving, but she couldn't go because she was busted. Why couldn't Mary go even though she was starving?
Because she was busted.
Because she was busted. Mary said she was starving, but she couldn't go because she was busted. What reason did Mary give Brian why she couldn't join him?
She didn't join him because he was busted.
Because she was busted. She didn't join him because she was busted. Mary said she was starving, but she couldn't go because she was busted. Brian told her it was okay. He'd pay for her, and it was his treat. Who paid for Mary?
Brian told her it was okay.
Brian told her it was okay. He paid for her, and it was his treat.
His treat.
How did Brian help Mary?
Brian paid for her.
Brian paid for her. Brian told her it was okay when she was busted. He paid for her, and it was his treat. Who treated Mary for lunch?
Brian treated Mary for lunch.
Brian treated Mary for lunch. Brian told her it was okay. He paid for her and it was his treat. Brian asked Mary where she wanted to go eat. What did Brian ask Mary?
Brian asked Mary where she wanted to go eat.
Brian asked Mary where she wanted to go eat. He asked Mary where she wanted to go eat. Did Brian ask Mary where she attended school?
No, he didn't. Brian asked Mary where she
No,
wanted
he didn't
to go
ask her
eat.
where she attended school. Brian asked Mary where she wanted to go eat. Who asked Mary where she wanted to go eat?
Brian asked Mary where she wanted to go eat.
Brian asked Mary where she wanted to go eat. Brian asked her where she wanted to go eat. Mary said it didn't matter. What did Mary say?
Mary said it didn't matter.
She said it didn't matter. Mary said it didn't matter. Who said it didn't matter?
Mary said it didn't matter.
Mary said it didn't matter. She said it didn't matter. Did Mary tell Brian the place to eat?
No, Mary didn't. No,
Mary didn't tell Brian the place to eat. Mary said it didn't matter.
Mary said it didn't matter.
Brian said he could use a good steak. He wanted to try out the new steakhouse. Did Brian want to check out the new pizza restaurant?
No, he didn't. Brian says he liked.
No, he didn't want to check out the new pizza restaurant. Brian said he liked having a good steak. He wanted to try out the new steakhouse. Where did Brian want to go?
The new steakhouse. He wanted to go to the new steakhouse.
The new steakhouse. He wanted to go to the new steakhouse. Brian said he liked having a good steak. He wanted to try out the new steakhouse. What did Brian want to try out?
Brian wanted to try how to try.
Brian wanted to try out the new steakhouse. Brian said he could use a good steak and wanted to try out the new steakhouse. Mary said she could go for a steak too. What kind of food did Mary want?
Steak. Mary wanted steak too.
Steak. Mary wanted steak too. Mary said she could go for a steak too. Did Mary want Italian food?
No, she didn't. Mary said she could.
No, she didn't want Italian food. Mary said she could go for a steak too. She felt like eating steak too. Who said she could go for a steak too?
Mary said she was. Mary said she could go for a steak too.
Mary said she could go for a steak too. Mary said she felt like steak too. Brian said he could swing by to pick Mary up in about 10 minutes. When did Brian swing by and pick up Mary?
In about 10 minutes.
In about 10 minutes. Brian said he could swing by to pick up Mary in about 10 minutes. Did Brian swing by and pick up Mary in 1 hour?
No, he didn't. Brian says he.
No, he didn't say he swung by and picked up Mary in an hour. Brian said he swung by to pick up Mary in about 10 minutes. What did Brian say?
He said he could swing by to pick Mary up in.
He said he could swing by
about
to pick
10
Mary up
minutes.
in about 10 minutes. Brian said he could swing by to pick